Sorry? This one. Not really. One more minute. I'm setting up this talk. Doing the old-fashioned way. Good morning, Ajahn. Good morning, Ayah Pekka. Good morning, Ayah Santa. Thank you for coming to Newbury this morning to give us a Dhamma talk. Just a quick short announcement. We had a very busy week last few weeks, and wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year celebrations coming up. Hopefully you have a very good time with your family and friends. Thank you for coming to the BSV. Ajahn Brahm talk next week has been fully booked, but those who wish to come, you can still book online, but will be placed on the waiting list. So we will be sending out an email to those who have booked and let us know if there are any cancellation, in which case seats will be released, and those in the waiting list will be put on the first in, first out basis for those seats available. Later on, Ayah will be, for this morning sessions, Ajahn will be talking until 10 o'clock. And then from 10 to 10:15, there will be a question and answers. From 10:15 to about 10:45, Ayah Pekka will take over and will go through some of the scenarios regarding the meditation centers at Newbury. So Ayah has kindly offered this opportunity for any questions and answers at the request of members from the society who wish to know more about the meditation center. Thank you, Ayah, and thank you for the member who make a request for clarifications regarding this project here. This project is important because it involves, and it will certainly benefits the community as well as affecting and benefits both the monks and nuns and the whole community at NBM too as well. So it's very important for everyone else. For next week, because it will be an extremely busy week because of the New Year's Eve and because of the Ajahn Brahm talk on a Saturday night, our poor AV team has been working extremely hard in the last 8 months, and I think they almost reached a peak last few weeks. So they need some rest. As a result, next Sunday, it will be a talk by Bhante Arana Vihari. It will be live streamed from Newbury Sangha House. Those who wish to, so Bhante Arana Vihari will not be at the BCM on next Sunday, and there will not be any lunch community sharing as well. This hall, however, will still be open for those who wish to come on site to watch the live streaming talk as well as to engage with the community if you wish to as well. So this hall anyway will still be open. And then the following week after next Sunday, it will resume as normal. We apologize for any any temporary interruptions to the routine. I will be leaving this center shortly afterwards, about 9:30, to visit the Malvern Town Hall. The Malvern Town Hall venue manager has kindly meeting us on Sunday, taking out her personal time to meet us to walk through the procedures and process for next Sunday. So me and a few other people will be meeting her next Sunday, so I will not be around to partake the question and answers. However, I shall be back, and I'll try to be back by around 11:30. In case there's any queries, I shall be around. In the meantime, Indira and Rohan will be here to answer any further queries supporting Ayah Pekka. I'm sure Ayah Pekka will be able to answer most of the queries very well. So without further ado, thank you, Ajahn. I'll let you take over.
Thank you, Adrian. Yes.
Can I just make an update to that? Can I just ask everyone who came today scanned in the QR code on their phone? Can I ask everyone to who'll be coming in the future, and also those coming to the Ajahn Brahm event at Melbourne Town Hall, to download the Service Victoria app on their phone, and that will really speed up the check-in process, because Melbourne Town Hall is also using the same service from Service Victoria. Okay, thank you.
That's very good. So there we are. So welcome to everybody to the Buddha Loka Centre, the Buddhist Society of Victoria. And this is so nice after 5 and a bit months of being away from Buddha Loka, from being here, from being with, giving a live talk, that it's nice to see familiar faces and to be here. So this is Ajahn Nissarano, for those who are wondering who this person is, who are watching it online. And as usual, we begin with the taking of the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. And then we follow that by the chanting. And I think maybe today we can do it in English again, because you can read it up there, I think. I hope I can read it, actually, because it's not so familiar. So is there anybody who could request the 3 refuges and 5 precepts? Very easy, actually. The person who usually does it is not here, Savitri. She does it on the Sunday. You can just do it in English, actually. It's very simple. Yeah. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So that's requesting the 3 refuges and 5 precepts to impress the fact that this is voluntary for each of us to keep the precepts. And now I will do what we call the Namo Tassa, but in English it will be homage to him, I think it says. And then I'll do that 3 times, and then if you'd like to repeat it, and then I will do the going for refuge, line by line, and if you repeat it after I've said it. So that's how we usually do it. So there we are. Homage to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the rightly awakened One. Homage to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the rightly awakened One. Homage to him, the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the rightly awakened One. I go to the Buddha for refuge. I go to the teachings for refuge. I go to the noble monastics for refuge. For the second time, I go to the fully awakened one for refuge. For the second time, I go to the teachings for refuge. For the second time, I go to the noble monastics for refuge. For the third time, I go to the fully awakened one for refuge. For the third time, I go to the teachings for refuge. For the third time, I go to the noble monastics for refuge. This completes the going for refuge. That's good. Very yes, Venerable Sir, or the other one, options. So now we do the actual precepts, so in English. And we can do these line by line. I will say it, and then if you repeat it. I undertake the training rule to refrain from taking life. I undertake the training rule to refrain from stealing. I undertake the training rule to refrain from sexual misconduct. I undertake the training rule to refrain from false speech. I undertake the training rule to refrain from intoxicating drinks and substances that reduce clarity of mind. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And now we can chant together the recollection of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha in English. So this is very, we'll see the English translation. Such indeed is he, the Blessed One, is a worthy one, fully awakened by himself, consummate in knowledge and conduct, the Sublime One, knower of the worlds, incomparable master of those to be tamed, teacher of devas and humans, awakened and blessed. Well expounded is the Dhamma by the Blessed One, to be seen here and now, timeless, inviting one to come and see, leading inwards, to be understood individually by the wise. Well practiced is the Blessed One's community of noble disciples. Directly practiced is the Blessed One's community of noble disciples. Methodically practiced is the Blessed One's community of noble disciples. Properly practiced is the Blessed One's community of noble disciples. That is to say, the 4 pairs of humans, the 8 types of persons. This is the Blessed One's community of disciples, worthy of offerings, worthy of hospitality, worthy of a teacher's gift, worthy of reverential salutation, the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. And now we have the Buddha's words on loving kindness, and we can continue in English to chant them. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to wrong views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. So there we are. So very nice. It's always good to take the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts and to remember the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha in our lives. These 3 refuges and 5 precepts, of course, are great protection for us in our lives, because I always say to people, if you want to lead a complicated life, a life full of drama, break the 5 precepts, you'll soon have it. But it leads to peace, and leads us to developing the Dhamma, developing good qualities, and developing happiness within. So today I'd like to give a talk. I was asked by people in Sri Lanka, a supporter in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, to give a talk for the Ajahn Brahm Society in Sri Lanka. And I gave that talk last Friday on Christmas Day. And it was a very suitable talk in a way, because the talk was to address or look at the difficulties, the tensions that are building up in Sri Lanka between the Buddhist community and the Muslim community. There seemed quite a few tensions throughout the world between the Muslim community and other communities. And we can see in New Zealand a very unfortunate result of that, with the massacre in Christchurch of the mosque playing out. So this talk, as the Friday talk did too, will focus on harmony in society and ourselves, because harmony is a very important aspect of the Buddhist path. It's a factor that leads to peace within, and it's something that promotes the practice of the Dhamma. So I'd like to just start, I think because there's not so much time now, I might abbreviate what I was going to talk about. And just to mention these verses, I was going to quote some verses from the Buddha. And this is what happened at Kosambi, when people were in disharmony. When the monks were in disharmony, actually, they were having a big fight. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And this is some of the verses the Buddha spoke on that occasion, which are always, they really sum up what happens when we have disharmony in the world. And it says, the Buddha said, "When many voices shout at once, none considers himself a fool. Though the Sangha is being split, none thinks himself to be at fault. They have forgotten thoughtful speech, they talk obsessed by words alone, uncurbed their mouths, and they yell at will. None knows what leads him to act, so to act." And of course, as I mentioned, this is at Kosambi, where the monks had divided into 2 groups, because of course disharmony is always a number of groups. It can be more than 2, can't it? It can be many. And they had divided into 2. One was the group that was focusing on Dhamma, and one was focusing on the Vinaya. And there'd been a small Vinaya offence, a rule of discipline for the monks, and this split the community. And the Buddha was invited to come and heal this, and he did on a number of occasions speak to the monks. But the occasion that I'm going to mention here, which is in a sutta from the Majjhima Nikaya called Imperfections, he is invited to come and speak to the monks, and he said to the monks, "Stop arguing, stop quarrelling, stop hurting each other with verbal daggers." And you'd think, well, they'd listen to him. He said this 3 times, actually. And then one of the monks said to the Buddha, he said, "May the Buddha not involve himself in this. May he have a pleasant abiding," which means to go off and meditate, and especially the jhanas, the deep meditations. And that these monks who were disputing, would be solely responsible for that. And so then the Buddha, he saw that this was not possible for him to heal this. And so the next morning he went on his alms round and left Kosambi. He left those monks. It's very interesting, because it shows the Buddha's is not coming from the sense of owning the Sangha. I'm controlling the Sangha. You see that, don't you? That he does what he can do, and then he walks away from it, because he realises, with equanimity, not the right time. And of course, the Sangha being split, he talked about in that verse, is when the monks or the nuns, fully ordained monks or nuns, divide into 2 groups. And therefore there's not unity, there's not harmony. And this is one of the most serious things that can happen in the Sangha, is when the Sangha is split. And the Buddha mentions quite often, it's very negative karma, that when the Sangha is split. But the harmony of the Sangha is so important and it's one of the things as a monk or a nun, it was impressed on us, this harmony of the group working together is so important, because without it, there cannot be peace. Without it, the practice will suffer. We can't practice the Noble Eightfold Path so well. It's an obstacle. And also for the lay community, when the Sangha is fighting, as in Kosambi, this place where the monks were fighting, disagreeing over Vinaya, it also reduces the faith of the community, the lay community, because they think, wow, these monks, what are they practicing? Look at them. They're supposed to be peaceful, and they're actually fighting each other. And the way the dispute ended was because the lay community stopped feeding them. Very practical, isn't it? Very practical. And also what it points out too is there's a lack of respect from towards the Buddha, that they wouldn't listen to him at all because they're so taken over by the dispute that they were having. But we see in the world that there's many divisions in the world, and this is very natural given the fact that we have the three negative roots in our minds of desire, aversion and delusion. This is very natural. And it plays out particularly in these sorts of disputes. Is a lot of anger can come up, hatred, or a strong sense of self or ego. That's what can come up. So this is, and I reflected, as many of you probably have reflected too, the US elections were a pretty good example of disharmony and people dividing in a huge way. I couldn't believe how polarized America has become over the elections. And it reminds me, as it probably reminds you, of the maxim or the saying, divide and conquer. And I think politicians often use that to gain power and to keep it. And they can even, in politics, of course, they can use a particular group within the society as a scapegoat, focus all the negative energy on it, and that happens. We've seen it with the Jewish people in Adolf Hitler's Germany before the Second World War and during it. And it reminded me, when I see this division in society, one of the phrases that came to mind, it shows how conditioned we are. United we stand, divided we fall, came to mind. And so I Googled it, as you do, and I wonder if you know who said that. Does anybody know who said that? I'll tell you what Google said. They said that it goes back to the 6th century BC, actually, originally. Obviously not in these words, but in the Greek or whatever. But evidently one of the founding fathers of the US in 1768 wrote a song called The Liberty Bell, and this phrase was in it. So it's in the active form, uniting we stand, dividing we fall. And so it was in a song. But I realised that that's probably not where I got the reference from, because I saw there was a pop song in 1970 called United We Stand, Divided We Fall. And I saw it, and I saw the words and everything. I thought, yes, I do remember that. So that's probably where it's coming from. But the causes, one of the causes of disharmony, lack of harmony in the world. And in society, and we can see because of that disharmony, there's often intolerance. This was one of the phrases that was mentioned about Sri Lanka at the moment towards the Muslim community. And of course the immediate cause for division is views, different views that people have, and so people divide over these views. And one of my teachings in the last few months, or the last 6 months really, has been on the emphasis on views, to be wary of them, because they're so powerful and often dangerous. Because they shape our lives, they shape the way we perceive the world, they shape the way we think. So this is quite a good thing to be on the lookout for. And sometimes when you say views, people think, well, what do you mean? But racism is supported by a view, isn't it? There's a view there that some people are superior, some people are inferior, that idea. Discrimination based on gender, sexism, is based on a view, as is religious and sexual orientation. Coronavirus, we've seen so many views. And these conspiracy theories, they really have highlighted how views can affect people and how people can really believe in them and give them power. But for the Buddha, all these views are wrong views. So, and why are they wrong views? That's a useful thing to consider. And I think for all of us, it's always good to have a measure of our views. You know, whatever we believe, to see the effect it's having on the mind. But for the Buddha, a view is wrong if it's not taking us to awakening, if it's not taking us to enlightenment. But it's also a wrong view if it's based on desire, aversion, or delusion. So these are the areas, if we want to check up with a view, is this view enhancing my life? Is it enhancing other people's lives? Just to check where it's coming from. And sometimes it's not easy because, you know, when we believe a view, there's a lot of self invested in it, a lot of ego. So of course we think this is absolutely true and it's so important, and therefore we can override our sense of, can allow anger to come up and things like that. But of course wrong views lead to consequences, because you often hear the Buddha talk about the wrong eightfold path. It's not noble. Wrong eightfold path. But when we have a wrong view, we'll have wrong intentions. So we'll think of getting, or we'll think of ill will, or aversion. We'll think of harming others. And so this is the motivation. Then from that motivation, the speech will come, wrong speech. We'll speak harshly. We will speak what's not the truth. We will speak speech which divides people, and we will speak gossip, actually, which can be very negative as well. Not only from that wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action can arise. So people will kill other people for a view. They will steal, they will, I don't know about sexual misconduct, depends on the view. And also then we have wrong livelihood, wrong effort, and wrong mindfulness, and wrong samadhi, or wrong stillness, unification of mind. So this eightfold path, the wrong eightfold path, is quite powerful in the world. You see it. So I'd like to talk more about how the Buddha recommended we develop harmony. Because lovely, actually, this is based on that dispute at Kosambi, and from that sutta, the imperfections. And I think it's a very good one to show how we can develop harmony. I'll just read, after the Buddha left Kosambi, after this dispute, realizing he couldn't do anything with the monks at that stage. He could not speak to them, could not get through to them. And so he left Kosambi and he travelled, he actually spent the Vasa in this is a range retreat, in a forest on his own. But on the way to that forest, Parilekia forest, he met some monks, and one of them was Venerable Anuruddha, Venerable Nandiya, and Venerable Kimbala. And one of the things he said to them after the first few introductory comments are, I hope, Anuruddha, that you are all living in concord with mutual appreciation, without disputing, blending like milk and water, viewing each other with kindly eyes. And then Venerable Anuruddha said, surely, Venerable Sir, we are. But the Buddha being the Buddha, he asked, but Anuruddha, how do you live thus? Because that's interesting. How do we live in harmony, blending like milk and water? I think in the Bible it's more like blending like milk and honey, isn't it? Something like that. I think that's what I remember anyway. And Venerable Anuruddha said this, and it's a very useful thing for us to reflect on. He said, Venerable Sir, as to that, I think thus, it is a great gain for me. It is a great gain for me that I am living with such companions in the holy life. These are the other two monks. I maintain bodily acts of loving kindness towards these venerable ones, both openly and privately. I maintain verbal acts of loving kindness towards them both openly and privately. I maintain mental acts of loving kindness towards them both openly and privately. I consider, why should I not set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do? Then I set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do. We are different in body, Venerable Sir, but one in mind. Isn't that lovely? It's very nice, beautiful actually. So very soothing and ideal in a sense. It's very idyllic. So, but they were also, practicing monks, and they say that they weren't enlightened at this stage, awakened, but they're certainly on the way to it, I'd say. So what does it mean? It's a gain for me. It's a great gain for me. This is a very important part of harmony, is actually to have this gratitude and thankfulness for the situation we find ourselves in. Because often we can focus on the problems, the difficulties, the negative things that exist in the situation. And of course, that won't be perfect, so there will be difficult things. But when we develop thankfulness for the bigger picture, the good things in the situation, in our relationship, in the family or in our society, then it makes us appreciate what we have. It makes us aware that there's more to it than this problem. Problem looks pretty big, but when we look at, when we're thankful, we're looking at the bigger picture. We say, there's a lot more to be thankful for. And so it prepares the mind, develops the mind for loving kindness. It makes it soft. And one of the terms I like for loving kindness is friendliness. So it's very easy when we live together to take each other for granted and to be critical of each other. So this gratitude or thankfulness really balances it. It helps us to bring up a more positive, wholesome view of each other. And so we keep in mind that these faults, these problems are minor compared to the things that we're thankful for. And so the acts of friendliness, this is or acts of metta. I maintain bodily acts of friendliness towards these Venerable ones, both openly and privately. So this is very important because when we're thoughtful of what other people's needs are, it can be very helpful. It's appreciated. It goes to the heart because when we do something, maybe only a small thing, even a smile, whatever it is, a good morning, good afternoon, it can go to the heart and be really appreciated. So we can do whatever we can do for ourselves, for others, cleaning, gardening, washing, whatever it is, and giving gifts. These are acts, bodily acts, go to the heart. When we give a gift, Christmas time is a time traditionally of giving gifts. And it means we're not thinking so much about ourselves, we're thinking about what others need, and it reduces that selfishness we have. But the important thing, he mentions, I don't know if you noticed, not just in public, but in private. How do you do things for others in private? Well, you may do things that need to be done. They're not around, you do them. And this is what happens in a monastery, ideally. And this brings harmony to the community, to the family, to the society. But what I wanted to focus on, because metta is obviously the metta, loving kindness, friendliness, is what the Venerable Anuruddha is talking about, which can heal, can bring harmony, can reduce disharmony. And I always remember Ayakema, she said that this metta, friendliness, loving kindness, is the supreme emotion. So it's something to really develop. And it is that sense of friendliness, because it comes from the word mitta, which means friend. And it has a sense of warmth and goodwill, well-wishing, gentleness, harmlessness. And it ideally is unconditional, so we don't pick and choose who we have this friendliness towards. And we don't expect anything necessarily back in return. And of course, the purpose of this developing metta, why do we develop it? Because it deals with or addresses a lot of the negative mind states that cause disharmony for us and lack of respect. So it reduces ill will, annoyance, irritation, resentment, holding on to grudges, anger and hate, etc. Harming and hurting, it reduces fault finding, all these things. So it's a very important thing for us to develop if we're going to live in harmony with ourselves too. because often the divisions can be within ourselves. We hear people saying, I'm having conflicted emotions. So we need to have metta, loving kindness, friendliness towards ourselves. But it's something that we can share. Once we have it, we can share it with others. So that's very important, that we have developed it and then we can share it. If we haven't developed it, then it's very hard. Well, it's impossible, isn't it, to share if we haven't got it. It's like somebody who wants to give someone a donation of money or give some money to a person and they haven't got any money, can't give. So it's very important that we develop it. But the point is that anyone can develop loving kindness or friendliness. It's not something that is impossible for anyone. We all have that seed, and we can develop it by cultivating it, by repeating it, by bringing up this feeling. It's very important that when we talk about loving kindness, we're talking about it conceptually, but it is a feeling. It's a feeling of warmth, of friendliness, of that's incredibly positive. So we just need to develop, when we say develop it, repeat it, and make it a habit that we've developed in our lives. And some of the ways we can do that, people use words, don't they? They use words, may you be happy and well. And words are fine only if they bring up the feeling of loving kindness, of friendliness. The only thing with words too is that you have to keep changing them, because if you keep using the same words, it will not bring up the emotion. And there have to be something that connects to the heart, that brings up that feeling. And we can use images. Of course, images are good. So I know Ayakima, one of the images she used, you can use many different things actually, is like the sun in the heart, and it's filling one with this warmth of friendliness, of loving kindness, and it's banishing the dark inside. It's relaxing, filling the body and the mind with this warmth, this friendliness, and then we can radiate it to others. We can use also visualizations of pets are very good. People are very much, they've got a lot of loving kindness or friendliness towards their pets. You can see that quite often, whether it be dogs or cats. Ajahn Brahm, he uses kittens. But whatever works. And that's the point. It has to be something that brings up the feeling. And you have to be a little creative with it. You can't use the same thing again and again. I say it's like chewing gum. After a while, it loses its flavour. It's the same with these techniques. You have to keep reinventing it. And one of my favourites, and so maybe we can do a short guided meditation with it, is reflecting on the qualities of a best friend. So if you like just to close your eyes and come into the present moment. And just to reflect for a moment on the qualities of a best friend. What's a best friend like? Someone we feel close to, someone we feel connected to, someone that understands us, that's warm, that's there for us. Many things. And we can fill our bodies and minds with this feeling of friendly, being a best friend to ourselves. So that it brings healing, relaxation, joy, contentment, and acceptance. Just enjoying this warm feeling of friendliness, best friend. And we can radiate it to all those here in the hall, all the beings here, this friendliness, being regarding them as a best friend, with this warmth of friendliness. And then we can spread it in ever-widening circles all around this centre, continuing until we cover the whole earth and all realms of existence. And now we can come back to ourselves, very short, and slowly open our eyes. So I hope you were able to experience some taste of metta, that feeling of friendliness and warmth, ease, relaxation that it brings. It's very good. We can use it like a medicine for these difficult mind states we experience, grumpiness or tiredness, whatever it be, whether it be physical or mental. And we can use it in the meditation for the body, to relax the body, for the present moment, for the breath, or whatever object we're using. So it's a very important aspect of for meditation as well as our everyday life. So this is talking about acts of friendliness. And then the Venerable Anuruddha mentions the friendly speech. I maintain speech which is friendly towards my companions in the holy life, both openly and privately. And speech is actually what drives a lot of division for us. And this speech can cause a lot of misunderstandings and can cause hurt too. And the Buddha, I love one of these sayings the Buddha gave. He gave many wonderful sayings, but one of them is, we are all born with an axe in our mouths. Isn't that incredible? It's quite good. So the important thing for us to do, of course, is to develop right speech which is friendly, kind, gentle, and warm. So this is both, interestingly, he says, in private and in public. So in private is when we're talking to other people, not to the person we have a problem with. And one of the very nice quotations I'll give about right speech are just lovely, actually. And it emphasises this harmony, which is the focus of this talk. And he says, this is not from Venerable Anuruddha, this is in the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle-length discourses to Kandaraka, and it's sutta number 51. Abandoning false speech, one abstains from false speech. One speaks truth, adheres to truth, is trustworthy and reliable. One who is no deceiver of the world. Abandoning malicious speech, one abstains from malicious speech. One does not repeat elsewhere what one has heard here, in order to divide those people from these. Nor does one repeat to these people what one has heard elsewhere, in order to divide these people from those. Thus, one is someone who reunites those who are divided, a promoter of friendship, who enjoys concord, rejoices in concord, delights in concord, a speaker of words that promote concord. Abandoning, this is the next one, a harsh speech, he abstains from harsh speech. He speaks, or one speaks, such words that are gentle, pleasing to the ear, and lovable, as go to the heart, are courteous, desired by many, and agreeable to many. And abandoning gossip, one abstains from gossip. One speaks at the right time, speaks what is fact, speaks what is good, speaks on the Dhamma and the discipline. At the right time, one speaks such words as are worthy of recording, reasonable, moderate and beneficial. So that's lovely, isn't it? That's really nice. That's right speech, to develop this speech. Let go of, lying, let go of malicious speech, divisive speech, harsh speech, and let's let go of gossip. Develop those very positive aspects. But he also mentions developing thoughts and feelings that I maintain mental acts of friendliness towards them, the other monks, both openly and privately. And of course this is what we do when we practice meditation. But of course we have to take it into daily life too. And when we find ourselves in daily lives, to bring up this feeling of metta can be very, very helpful, especially when we need to relax, we're in a difficult situation. It can be very, very useful. So basically, Venerable Anuruddha is saying we need to develop it 24/7. We need metta by what we do, what we say, and what we think, and what we feel, because that's the other aspect of it. But also the other point that he makes in this, the point that he makes about how they blend like milk and water is this too. He says, why should I not set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do? Then I set aside what I wish to do and do what these venerable ones wish to do. And this is often the difficulty in when there's disharmony and conflict. We don't think like that. We don't think we will put aside what we want to do. And I think often this is where the ego comes in, our self comes in, and we think something is very important. But as I say, we need, whether it be in the family, whether it be in society, in a group, family or society, we need to look at where it's coming from. And if it's a negative, it's coming from a negative motivation, then we know this is not part of a spiritual practice. And that's the important thing with spiritual practice. The result, the goal is not the main thing. It's how we get there. People always say the journey, isn't it? They say the journey. But it's very true. It's the means we use. So I always feel if the Buddhist Society, if there's some event that doesn't work out as planned, people may say it wasn't a success or whatever. As long as they did it, if we did it in a good way, with a good heart, I feel that is a success because we are acting in a spiritual way. So this is always, in the end, is the most important thing, where we're coming from. And that makes it a spiritual practice. And so I say, in the West too particularly, we're very individualistic. So this can be it's very hard for us to live in communities. This is why for Westerners and living in Buddhist monasteries, either as monks or nuns, this is really part of the learning process, because it's not easy for us. We're used to our own space, and living in community can be really a challenge. So this harmony that we are looking to develop is very important. We need wisdom to determine what things we need to stand our ground on. And there are things that we do need that we can't compromise. But usually if these things that others are suggesting are not immoral, not unethical, then compromise is possible. And I'd just like to getting close to the end actually, just to mention a couple of other factors that the Buddha mentions in another sutta. And this one is called, Bhikkhu Bodhi calls it cordiality, which is an English word that I think is not very common. It actually translates as friendliness, which is quite easy. And he says there are 6 principles of friendliness that create affection and respect and conduce to cohesiveness, binding together, non-dispute, concord and unity. What 6? And he talks about developing friendliness, metta, through body, speech and mind, in public and in private. So that's what we've already spoken about. But these things are very, very important too. You could say this is an act an act coming from metta too, that again, it says here, a monk shares without reservation any lawful gains, anything that is offered, even his alms food, he'll share with others. And this is giving, sharing, a very important way to create harmony in a group. You see it, and hopefully at Christmas it has created harmony in the family. And certainly the shops are very happy with it. But so giving a gift is a very, very useful way that can touch the heart. That's actually an action. So generosity and giving, they can be a form of friendliness, of loving kindness, can't they? So, and it promotes the harmony. And so the other thing that the Buddha recommended for creating this sense of harmony too was that the monks dwell together openly and privately, possessing in common with their fellow monks virtuous behaviour. So if we have the same ethical standard, same moral standard, that can be a great way to bring harmony. Often in a larger society there's different degrees of morality or amoralness or whatever it is. But within, if we can have a similar code of morality, that's very, very useful for people. We know we can trust the other person. It gives rise to a sense of respect, it gives rise to harmony, of course, and peace, and it gives rise to respect and reduces conflict. So these ethical values in common, very important. And that's why in modern society this tends to be breaking down. There's no agreement, about ethical standards. And the last one the Buddha mentioned is that, again, a bhikkhu dwells both openly and privately, possessing in common with his fellow monks a view that is noble and emancipating. This is lovely, which leads out, for one who acts upon it, that's interesting, to the complete destruction of suffering. So this is talking obviously about, right view that takes us all the way to enlightenment. But it highlights the fact that in a group, to bring harmony in a group, if we have a view or a belief in common, that can be very, very useful. It can give us a sense of shared purpose, and it can give meaning to our lives. And as I say, it brings a sense of unity and harmony as well. So these are the Buddha says, the 6 principles of friendliness that create affection and respect and conduce to cohesiveness, to non-dispute, to concord, and to unity. So this is some of the ways the Buddha is recommending for developing this harmony. Basically, loving kindness, loving kindness, loving kindness. But also, these other ways too of having the sharing, giving, and also ethical standards in common, and a view or a purpose that is in common too. Because today the views and purposes that many people have, so diverse, so diverse. So these are things that can bring harmony in a group, bring harmony in a family, bring harmony in a group, bring harmony in society. So I'd like to finish there just to open up to any questions about that. It was very fortuitous, actually, in a way. I had this talk requested about harmony from Sri Lanka. And I thought, well, it fits with Christmas too, because, at Christmas time, harmony is a part of a family gathering. Hopefully when people get together at Christmas, they are, by and large, harmonious. And that harmony brings a sense of peace, connection to people, and happiness as well. Because if there isn't harmony in a society, if the society is divided, it makes life very difficult for everyone, actually. And I think that's what we're seeing in America. And one of the things that was very impressive with the COVID-19 here was that, by and large, you could say people were in harmony with the direction, the view that we needed to work together, and they did it, by and large. There were protests and things like that, but it was a good illustration of harmony and leadership as well, I must admit. The leadership helped a lot. So we did very well here in Melbourne particularly. I know friends in Canada, they say Melbourne, Australia, is people say this is a model for how to deal with COVID-19. So this is quite impressive, actually, especially when we see the disarray in other countries, Admittedly, they have big populations, big populations. So now I'd like to just finish there and just to ask if there are any comments or questions, complaints about harmony, or anything else indeed. Yes, Cora. All right, that's good. We have the live first, shall we?
Yeah, we can
be
maybe start with the online questions.
All right. Thanks, Juan.
Sorry. What is the difference between harmony and no discussion? My family doesn't want to talk about our pressing issues, however I bring up.
Oh, right. And what's the difference between harmony and not discussing issues? I think that's a very good question, because harmony doesn't mean that we all agree. It can't mean that, but we respect each other's difference. And also when we have these discussions, of issues within the family or within a group, within a society, we have to come from a feeling of loving kindness, not trying to blame the other person, being able to listen to the other person and to accept, respect. Because this is one of the important aspects of harmony, is there's respect for the other person's opinion. It may be different from ours, but we can sometimes I find it very interesting when I hear some people's views and things like, my goodness, I'd never have thought of it like that. But so it can be, this respect for other people, their views and the way they see the world. And we have this, it's challenged a lot these days with people with conspiracy theories. They can believe in these conspiracy theories. And I read that friends of people that subscribe to one or another of these theories, they can't talk to the person about it because they'll end up in an argument, which is terrible, But if you can respect the other person, even though you may not agree with that view, then that can bring harmony. And as I said, it's where we're coming from that's far, far more important. Not being right. We think we're right. They think they're right too, actually. So this is the important thing at the end of the day, that we're really there to listen to the other person and to accept the differences between us. And that is how harmony is achieved, because harmony is not that we're all going to be the same. That's impossible, and unless you do some sort of extraordinary brainwashing, that we all become sort of like robots, that's not going to happen. So this is, part of life, the differences. And it's very important in a family or in a group to discuss things that are issues. I think one should feel safe, one should feel encouraged to do that, because that can lead to growth. And to do it in a way that is positive, because we feel like we're doing it for the benefit of the group, for the other person that we're talking to, or the family members we're talking to, so that we can, achieve that harmony, Good, thanks.
Just a comment, you used the very word that I wanted to use, that the greatest gift a friend can give is the capacity to listen.
It is.
And I think this is one of the best ways of creating peace in any group, is to be able to listen and keep the mind fairly open. That was all.
Yes, I think that's good. Thanks, Cora. Keeping the mind open too is really important, because we can do that by knowing that the really important thing is, the qualities of the mind, of the heart that they're coming from. And so this is really, how we develop the spiritual life, the inner life. So, no, that's very important. So thank you for that. Yeah, no, that's good. I think, But it's a quality that's emphasised a lot in the Buddha's teachings, and particularly in the Sangha, you see it again and again. The Pali word for it is samagga. It's very similar to the similar word is, I think, samaggi. And so it's a really central principle. But if you look at the Sangha, you see this, so many disputes. This is the one that I talked about is a biggie. It's a very big dispute, but there were so many disputes going on. So the Buddha heard it all, But he was emphasising, because of that, that developing this harmony, because then we can, as you say, listen to others and also make it a part of our spiritual practice, not make it a part of our defilements of getting angry with people or getting annoyed, irritated with them, or developing more of an ego out of it, because that can happen, So this is the point of it. So it's emphasised. And on the way down, I remembered, the way here, I remembered Harmony Day. I thought, and I was saying, is Harmony Day to do with the Aboriginal people, the Indigenous people who live here? But Ayasanta looked it up, Google, and it's to do with multiculturalism, the fact that we are a multicultural society. It's very diverse, and I think that's a part of respect, is respecting that diversity and that richness, looking at diversity as richness, the differences between the different communities that make up Australia. And this is wonderful. This is looking at the differences between people. So this is great. And to promote harmony about it, not to use differences to create division, which can be the case. So very good. So may we develop Harmony Day, have more Harmony Days, every day. May every day be a Harmony Day. So very good. So any other comments or questions?
One more online question.
Oh, all right. Yes.
Ajahn.
Thanks, Juan.
I'm not sure whether this related to harmony.
No, it doesn't matter.
This question, but this one question is, how do Pacceka Buddhas practice? Will they also be like monks and practice Buddha's teachings, or can they be like lay people?
Ah, that's interesting, yes. I never really thought about that. Pacceka Buddhas, because they are Buddhas, you'd think that the form of their practice would be similar to a Buddha. So it would tend to be the same sort of lifestyle that a Buddha would have. They would tend to leave the home life. They'd live in maybe in a forest in a remote place, and they would be developing these inner qualities of peace and wisdom. They'd be developing the Four Noble Truths, wouldn't they? They'd be developing those. They'd be living ethically. They'd be relying probably on people's gifts, offerings, and they say with the Pacceka Buddha, this is, for those that don't know, this is someone who doesn't teach as such, or doesn't create a teaching which continues on. I'm sure Pacceka Buddhas would be teaching people who came to them to give offerings, but I don't think that their teachings don't become established. They don't develop a sangha. They've understood the Dhamma. They've become enlightened by themselves, but they don't establish a community of monks, Buddhist monks and nuns, a community of laymen, lay women. So this is what I understand with the Pacceka Buddha. But they've seen exactly what a Buddha sees, and so anybody that sees that will tend towards renouncing the world, we say, leaving the world, leaving the home life, and living a very simple life, usually in the forest or something like that, somewhere near a village. So it'd be a very similar lifestyle to a Buddha, but just not teaching like a Sambuddha. This is somebody who can teach, a fully awakened Buddha who can teach and establish the Dhamma, establish a sangha of monks and nuns, and the lay community as well, laymen, lay women. So I think that's how I would expect it, that it would be fairly similar, because they've seen exactly what the Buddha saw. Yeah, so thank you for that. Yes. Oh, yes. Nice to see you. Oh, the microphone, that's right.
And I found during Christmas that the younger generation talking to the older generation, sometimes the words, I don't know whether it's our generation, but tends to be a bit more blunt.
Oh, right, yes.
And I found even myself on Christmas Day, to my mother, I had to tell her to sit down.
Oh, right, yes.
And some people from outside thought it was very rude of me to speak in that manner to my mother.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
my mother's one who does a lot of stuff. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
sometimes I find as the daughter, even though her cousins or her family
Yes.
may think it's okay, as her daughter, I know she has to sit down
Yeah, right.
to continue
sometimes.
for the next couple of hours.
Yeah, take a rest.
So I had to be a little blunt and say,
Yeah.
you need to sit down
Yeah.
now.
Oh, but that's coming from kindness, isn't it?
It is, but I find that, sometimes
Yeah.
from outside you're giving the wrong impression as well. Like from the
Yes.
outside, people think you're being very rude and
Yeah.
very aggressive and very...
Oh, right. People can misinterpret things, can't
Yes.
they? That's the thing. You know, perceptions that we can have of different things can be completely wrong. You know, sometimes we can see something and you can say, "I saw it, I heard it," but then you find out a bit more. Oh, right, it's like that. All right, because you know, if those people who were perceiving it like that thought, "Oh, all right," because your mother, she's getting older now, so she hasn't got all the energy she used to have. So better to sit down, reserve a bit, build up some strength, and then it'd be good for her health. And yes, no, I think that's often the thing that happens with conflict is misunderstanding. You know, where people are coming from. But always for a Buddhist, you know, we always say the most important thing is to know where we're coming from and take refuge in that. You know, I had a good intention. However people received it, well, I can't control that, you know, and so that's natural. So, but you know, you had a feeling of concern, and I think that's wonderful. That's very positive, you know. So if people, I'm sure your mother would have understood it too. She probably saw that. Yeah, she probably thought, "Oh, right, she's right, actually." Yeah. Sometimes people need those little prompts to allow them to, because otherwise they'll keep going and then overdo it. We say overdo it. And often you only know you've overdone it when you've gone too far and you think, "Oh God, I feel really drained." So I think it's a kind thing. So if we're coming from a loving kindness, if we're coming from concern for a person, compassion, or joy for their good qualities, then these are wholesome things. Or acceptance sometimes too. Part of harmony is accepting the fact that, this is equanimity actually, it's an emotion of acceptance, that they're like this at the moment, you know. So, but they won't always be like this, whatever this is like. And that sort of acceptance has got this warmth in it as well, you know, knowing that we're all works in progress, and that you know, we're like this at the moment, but we won't be permanently like this. So this is a part of it too. So they're the four supreme emotions, as Ayakema used to call them, you know. So loving kindness, compassion, joy with others' success or good qualities, and equanimity or acceptance, I call it a lot of the time. So thank you. And now I think thank you for that. I hope it was helpful. And now it's time for discussion about the retreat centre, proposed retreat centre, and the development. Is this how we do it? I think Ian. All right. And should we end with? Let's see. Maybe we can just do a bow to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. That's nice. We can do. Maybe you can do Arahang. Oh, it's a bit difficult actually. That's it, thank you.